Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to... Yesterday I talked a little bit about an example of a kid that was in the daycare that I was working at that was really struggling with behavior issues and what it was like having to, or trying to support that child in that environment and how the environment really wasn't best. We're here at the park playing with Max. He found a bunch of flowers on the ground. And I said yesterday that I was going to give two examples of instances where the environment in the daycare wasn't best. And I only gave one example, so I want to go ahead and share the other one that sticks out most to me because it was one of those experiences that you have and people that you meet where you realize and you start to look at the world around you and just see that things aren't quite right. Like, you know, why isn't this child being supported? So this kid was at the daycare. He was 7 years old. So I think he was in first grade. He was held back. So he should have been in second grade. And he was a really smart kid, really funny, kind of like a joker, like just a really interesting, I mean, all the kids were really cool and really interesting, but this kid was really playful and fun and just always was excited and like the first to go when we were playing games and the first to get really excited about playing and everything. And he was already at the daycare when I started working there. So when I started working there, I noticed that, well, of course I would notice, but every day around lunchtime, he would pee his pants. And I wasn't the one in charge of taking care of him when I first started working there. Like, he was not in my group. So it took me a little while to notice because the other teachers were the ones responsible and like the ones kind of stepping in and helping him like get changed. But the day that I noticed it, I was like, okay, what's going on? And I went to another teacher and I said, hey, look, you know, he peed his pants. What should I do? And because I didn't really know, quite yet what the protocol was. I just started working there. So she said, oh, no, it's totally normal. He does this every day. And his parents bring him a couple changes of clothes in his stuff. So his stuff's in the office. You can go in there and get his change of clothes. And so, again, a child peeing their pants every now and then, especially when they're younger, it's not a big deal. But to hear from this other teacher that this was happening every day for this kid, a little red light came on in my brain. Like, what? That's not what right. It seems weird. Like, maybe he's got a condition or something, I don't know. So I'll find out. So as I started working there a little bit longer and I had a little bit more authority and I was more responsible for talking to the parents, I made a point of talking to his parents and sitting down and just saying, just casually kind of finding a way to bring up, what's the situation with him? Like, maybe I could find out more so that, I'm not making assumptions. So it turns out that this kid had been in the program for a long time and he had been having trouble in school, behavior issues, another boy. So very interesting that all these boys are the ones that are having behavior issues in school. And the school had recommended for the parents to take him to a psychiatrist because he couldn't sit still and he was overly excited. So the parents just took him to their general practitioner. The practitioner forwarded them to a child psychiatrist who put him on ADHD medication. not only that, after a while, because he was on this medication for a little while, his parents told me, and they told me all of this because there was a point within them where they didn't feel great about it, but they also were told, like, they also felt obligated because, you know, this is how we keep him in school. The teachers are saying he's having problems and that he's disrupting the classroom. So how do we make sure that he can stay in school and stay in class and you know, not cause too much issues? So after a while of being on that ADHD medication, they put him on mood stabilizers because the ADHD medication was wearing off too quickly, or he was still having issues. So by the time, and I think this was like a year before I had gotten there, that he'd been on those 2 medications, and the parents were telling me right there, yeah, the psychiatrist is recommending that we put him on something else as well because he's still having problems, and they were recommending that this other thing, it's another mood stabilizer, that it can help him, maybe it'll help him kind of ease things around. So, you know, right now he's on 3 different medications, and one of the side effects of these medications is him peeing his pants, and that he does it all the time. So he apparently he wasn't just doing it there at the daycare, he was also peeing his pants at home. So here was a child who clearly had, like, there was some clear physiological issues happening as a reaction to these medications that was not happening before. He was potty trained well, he was not having any issues before the medications, but here he's having this issue, and the doctors are just telling the parents, yeah, it's a side effect, you know, well, let's put him on more medication to kind of see maybe if we can help things, or let's, you know, change the dosages and stuff like that. So I don't know if any of you are like, okay, something's not right. It's not right. Like, it's not just him peeing his pants. It's not just a simple, oh yeah, it's causing this consequence. What's going on inside that kid's body as a result that's making him pee his pants? What are the consequences that are happening? Are the doctors sitting down and talking to these parents and being straightforward? So, but why did it happen in the first place? Why was he having to take these drugs in the first place? Because he was in an environment and the parents felt pressure to keep him in this environment where he needed to sit still, he needed to follow, you know, the rules, and if he didn't do that, then there would be consequences, like he would get kicked out of the program. So his parents felt pressured to put him on this medication, which then caused him to have these physiological issues where he's peeing his pants. And guess what happened after that? Like, he's peeing his pants every day. Do you think the other kids are like, oh yeah, no, that's totally normal? Of course he's going to be ostracized by the other kids that are in the group because he's peeing his pants, and they've been told by their parents, like, oh, it's not good to pee your pants, right? So, I mean, now he's facing the emotional backlash of other kids, of the teachers who are getting frustrated I mean, think about it. If an adult within themselves is not, like, fully understanding the situation, because I guarantee those teachers that were there did not take the time like I did to talk to the parents and find out what was going on. They were just like, nah, yeah, he does this every day. Yeah, we have to go in and change him maybe once or twice a day. So they're frustrated, the teachers are frustrated, the kids are ostracizing him. Now he's dealing with this emotional stuff within himself. His parents don't know how to support him. All they can do is go to the experts who are telling him, oh yeah, let's switch up the drugs and let's switch up the dosages and that is what will work. And he's only 7 years old. Now, that's not the typical case of every kid that goes to daycare, right? But but I guarantee, like, I'll talk to teachers and they'll say, there's always one kid like that in their class. There's always one kid that's dealing with like severe behavior issues and whose parents are putting them on medication. And we all know that's happening more and more frequently. So, and we're not fully aware of how these medications are affecting the kids physiologically and psychologically. So let's say you're not doing that to your kid, okay? Let's say, you're like, oh no, I'm not gonna put my kid on medication, but I'm still gonna put them in daycare and I'm still gonna put them in school. But your kid is surrounded by other kids more and more that this is happening to. And who for them, taking a drug is normal and it's necessary. And who are having all these behavior issues and emotional issues that they're not being supported with. And there was very little that I could do as an instructor in that situation. There's almost nothing I could do because they're already getting support from people who are doctors, people who are experts. And even though I was spending time with their child every day and I could see, okay, he's still not, like, something's not right, maybe we need to take a step back and look at what's going on. And it's not supporting the other kids in the group either, because teachers don't know how to support kids like that. But he's not disabled enough where he would need to be put in a special school, right? So he's with everybody else, and it was just so weird. Such a strange situation. And that's why it's like, when kids are put in situations like that, you can't really support them on an individual level. And it really seems like we're not really committed to finding out what's really going on. Instead, we have these set of rules and these set of expectations for our kids that we've put in place to try to force them to have a certain expression. But the expression isn't always natural. It's usually not natural, and it's not best. And so we end up with kids where, this kid was very sweet and nice, and maybe he just needed a different form of support during the day. And maybe he could have got that on a one-on-one level. And maybe his parents weren't in a position to be able to support him like that. But again, why can't we start to talk about this stuff? Why can't we start to open it up? Because kids are being harmed. Not just this kid. The other kids in that environment are not being supported effectively. And now that you throw this other point in the mix where it's like, it doesn't support the environment. It doesn't show them a good example of how you deal with emotions. Instead, it's just like, okay, throw something in the mix that's just showing you that if a child is having issues, we deal with it with frustration and we medicate them. And it's so weird, if we're being honest. It's so weird. And let's stop and just look at what's happening. We have to stop abusing our children, because that's what we're doing. We're abusing our kids. And it's not to blame anybody, because blame, I'll do another video where I talk about blame and shame and all that stuff and guilt. But it's not about blame. It's about stopping the practices and stopping creating the environments that are not supportive for children, because we're just cycling back and just recreating all the problems that we see in this world. Everything we teach to a child 20 years down the road, they're going to repeat and create in their environment, and then they're going to teach that to their children. So we can stop a lot of the nasty stuff that's happening in this world by right now taking this generation of children that are being born right now and supporting them effectively. Yes, Stacy, that's a really good point. And the medication, it's a really good example. I mean, we do medicate a lot of kids. And if it's not medication, it's some other form of emotional manipulation. Like I was talking about yesterday with the screaming, the yelling, the hitting. Those all have physiological impacts. We don't realize it, but when a child is very young, and oh man, there's so many studies on this. Stefan Molyneux does a great interview on what happens to kids when you spank them. And I have this great book. I don't remember the title right now, but maybe I'll post in the comments. But there's so many studies that are done that show the physiological consequences of screaming, yelling, punishing kids, hitting them, and how that can affect cortisol levels, which can affect aggression later on in life. So, parents, wouldn't it be cool if before you had children, you were educated on all of this? But that would require you as a parent to be able to process that information and to know within yourself that you can understand it, and to have confidence within yourself that you can support your kids. So what if we could create that? I mean, we could literally change the world in one generation. And I know that. It's not a belief, it's a knowingness, because all of this is common sense. All of this is clear. When you start to clarify your vocabulary and you start to look at your own emotional stuff and you start to move a lot of that out of the way, you start to really deal with it, then you can start to see the systems in this world and what the issues are, what they're creating. Like you can look, okay, here's a structure, a system like the education system. Here's what we put in. Here's all the things that happen. Here's the consequence. Here's the child at the end. What are they capable of? What are they not capable of? Critical thinking, that's one thing, right? But if we start doing that and we make serious changes, maybe it's a matter of not putting children in that structure at all. Maybe it's a matter of changing the system. But we need to start opening up and looking at and being honest with ourselves. What did you experience in the education system? Be honest about it. Don't just be sentimental. Look at what you really experienced. I had a very tough time. I went to public school my whole life, and it was very challenging for me. And so I'm sure you've had experiences like that too. If you're honest and you really look at what actually happened and you don't just be sentimental about it, where, oh yeah, I had a great time, school was great for me. It's like most of us, we had some good experiences, but there was a lot of points where we weren't being supported. Points where maybe if those things had been changed, we would have been a different person. I don't mean different at our core. I mean different in terms of our abilities, different in terms of our self-confidence, different in terms of our ability to go out and express ourselves in the world, and our ability to make money more effectively, and our ability to build systems that actually support one another, and our love for our neighbor. Maybe those things would be totally different. So I really think as adults, if we're capable, if we're able, and if we want to be, because we have to make the decision, okay, I really want to look at these things. I really want to be self-aware. I really want to change things in this world. Start being honest with ourselves and look at what actually happened in our own experiences, and then look at the system in place and be honest about it. Remove the sentimental stuff. Remove the wishes. Let's just look at what kids are actually going through. Look at what you actually went through, and let's make a change. Okay, so look at, you see, we'll go see them up close. They're so cute. I always do these when Max is getting tired. So we'll go home soon, but I want to show you. Can you see? So cute. next?
We're just swinging.
All right, so that's all I have for today. If you resonate with what I'm talking about, share. Post a comment below, or do your own Facebook Live talking about your experience. That would be really cool. All right, see you guys another day. Bye.